Joining us right now is the man of the hour. He is the coach of the undefeated San Diego State men's basketball team. That is Brian Dutcher. Coach, how are you today?
Good, guys. Thanks for having me.
It is great to have you on, Coach. Well, first of all, congratulations to you, your team, your staff on a tremendous start to the season against some very challenging opponents. Before we get moving forward to the game on Friday, what's your takeaway so far of what your team has accomplished to this point?
We came in really mature, and we're playing like an older team, which I like. I mean, Jordan Shackle, Matt Mitchell kind of set the tone, 2 fourth-year seniors. Nathan Menson, Aguika Rope, both in the starting lineup, third-year juniors, and then coming off the bench with Adam Seiko and guys that are program guys. Of course, we always add good transfers like we did with Joshua Tomajic and Torrell Gomez, but it's the mix of the old and the new, and they're really defending at a high level, and we still got a long ways to go and grow with this team.
What does that mean, though? Because you hear coaches talk about, especially college coaches, there's so much turnover, and you will have veteran-laden teams with certain programs after a certain amount of time. What changes for you as a coach when you have older players on your court specifically? Because it's obvious, like they know the college game, they've played in a lot of games, but what differences do you as a coach employ when you have an older team versus a younger team?
There's a saying in coaching, there's coach-driven teams and player-driven teams, and player-driven teams are always better because they set the standard. If they have to hear me yelling every day what the standard is, then that gets to be old and monotonous. But when your seniors and your juniors kind of set the tone, then it makes it a joy to coach. And so these guys have played a lot of basketball. They know what Aztec basketball is. It's competitive, high-level defense, and then it's sharing the ball on offense. And so when they're able to deliver that message to the newcomers and play to that standard, it makes my job and the assistants' jobs that much easier.
I know coaches don't like to compare teams. It's like comparing children. You love them all. But the depth on this team, and I know it's early, but it just seems like you have more depth on this team than we've seen over the last couple of years. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Usable depth. I mean, when we're playing our starting five out there and then the second unit's beating them in practice, well, it's either an issue or it's a great asset. And for us, it's been a great asset because I'm not afraid to mass substitute, to throw 4 guys in there at one time, 5 new guys, and let them roll because sometimes they're just better than that first group. And so that's what's happened. At Arizona State to start the second half, I thought the first group looked sluggish, and I watched tape, and they didn't look as bad on tape as I thought they did in person. But I threw that second unit in there with Seiko and Gomez and Lamont Butler, and I left Shackle in and throw Joshua Tomajic in, and they're the ones that kind of spurted us on to a mini run to start that second half after the first unit got off to a shaky start. And so I've got usable depth. It's not depth when guys are hurt and we can throw someone in there. It's guys I can throw in there right in the heat of the game, and they're able to produce.
So it's your job to hunt down these talented players and get them to play at State, and it's our job to hunt down talented analysts to talk about these talented players that you've hunted down to play at State. And that's exactly what we've been doing, Coach. You know, and every single analyst we speak to says it's a great team. They're missing one key piece this year over last year, and it's Malachi Flynn, and he's doing great things in the preseason of the NBA right now. But I don't necessarily see it that way. I understand that he's graduated to his professional career now, but like we know in college hoops, there's always an underclassman that can sort of take over, and we have yet to see this whole season. Is there a player who you could maybe peg at this point earlier in the season that could be the player that really takes over this squad, much like Flynn did last year for you?
It's different. You know, Malachi was the guy that could do it off ball screens and score and get assists. You know, I think Trey Pulliam's done a great job setting his teammates up. And then Jordan Shackle's obviously provided more offensive punch this year because he's getting more opportunities. You know, some of the shots Malachi might get, Jordan's shooting now. And so it's kind of by committee. I'm loving the way Adam Seiko's playing off the bench. He plays so under control. And he's making plays that maybe don't show up as an assist. It's like a hockey assist. He gets into the paint, makes one pass, and it leads to another pass. so it's kind of by committee right now. I don't know if I have a go-to guy. Matt Mitchell's been that guy in some games because he can get to the foul line, but Matt hasn't shot it like I know he can yet. And so hopefully, offensively, we continue to grow our identity as a team. When you put new pieces out there, it's going to take some time from the offensive end, and I'm still not completely convinced we're playing great offense right yet.
Well, one guy that is playing good offense is Shackle. I mean, he just absolutely lit up Arizona State. They couldn't stop him. And that's the difference in a game like that against a team that's featuring probably 4 future NBAers. I always think back when he was a freshman, Coach, and the thing that impressed me about Shackle, even as a freshman, was he wasn't afraid to take the shot. I mean, he was ready to take the shot. And now that he's a senior, can you just take a step back and take us through the evolution of Jordan Shackle as part of the San Diego State basketball program?
Yeah, we took Jordan because he was a hard-nosed kid. I watched him in high school and AAU, and he guarded so hard. And even early in his career, when we're playing Georgia, I think in the Wooden Legacy, he's going against a preseason SEC Player of the Year, a 6'8" post player, and Jordan's fronting him and just playing incredibly hard defensively as a freshman against a bigger opponent. So we knew he had that grit about him. He was always a very good shooter, and he worked hard to improve that. His three-point release is quick. And what he's grown now is he's shooting the mid-range pull-up, and he's attacking to the rim for the layup. And so because people run him off the three, he's attacking off the dribble. And so he's grown that part of his game. And I told him the next step for him is to penetrate in there and be able to find someone on the perimeter to kick and get the assist for the three-point shot. So he continues to grow his game, and everything we've asked him to do, he's done. And so he plays with great confidence, and that's always important at the offensive end. You know, I never really micromanage shots guys take because I figure if they don't have confidence in it, they're not going to have to take it. I'm not going to have to worry about it. But Jordan plays with such incredible confidence right now. That's why he's taking and making the shots he is.
Brian Dutcher, head coach of the Aztecs, joining us on Xtra 1360. The opening series at UNLV, originally scheduled for the last day of December, and January 2nd was moved to the 2nd and the 4th, meaning that you guys, after you finish your non-conference schedule against St. Mary's, are going to have an 11-day gap between games. Not great. Obviously, you don't want to go stale on the shelf before you start your conference schedule. There's been rumors that you're looking for a game. How many conversations have you had with Mark Few up at Gonzaga over the past couple of days, Coach? Are we gonna get maybe a little West Coast rivalry thing going? I would love that. Am I being too ambitious?
I've been texting with Mark. They had a game, but they got canceled with Baylor, but they penciled Virginia in instead. So I'm looking. I've talked and reached out to Andy Enfield at USC. I've talked to Drew from Baylor today, the head coach of Baylor. They didn't need an opponent, so I'm on the phone. I'm looking for a great game if we can get one. If not, we'll try to pencil another Division I team in there. But it's not because I'm not trying. I've reached out to Stanford. We're calling. We're making calls. We're trying to find hopefully someone from the West that we can play, or someone that's extremely highly rated. But so far, I haven't had luck in getting that solidified yet. But we are actively looking.
Well, that's the problem, though. When you blow out the top 2 rated teams in the Pac-12, no one wants to play you. That's the problem here, Coach.
That can be a bit of an issue.
I mean, yeah, they're like, you know what? Hey, we like you, Dutch, but
enjoy your vacation.
But
your conference schedule.
But you did have previously the home and home with Gonzaga, and I know you're very close to Mark Few. You know, I've said this before. We get shortchanged on the West Coast. But Gonzaga's been able to get on the radar over 20 years of being in the tournament every year. And San Diego State ain't far behind, by the way, as far as success is concerned over the last decade plus. But somehow, some way, because Coach, if you could ever work that as an annual non-conference home and home type of, that's a national game. I'm hitching my wagon to Gonzaga right now, too. I think take San Diego State to another level. Is that possible?
We talk every year. Some years he's willing to do it. Mark's been good to us. We've played home and home with Gonzaga, but other years he's got other opportunities because of what they are. He's choosing between Villanova and Kentucky, and so he's playing those kind of games. And so we're always in discussion. Some years he's willing to do it, and some he's not. And that's just our lot in life. It's people people have a tough time looking at Viejas Arena and what we've done there and saying we're going to go in there and play. You have to know you're really good to want to do that and say, even if we get beat, it's not a bad loss. You know, we're going to roll the dice and go play them this year. And so sometimes when you're as good as we've been, it gets harder to schedule. Teams have to have great confidence in themselves to want to come in and pay a visit to Viejas.
Coach, I want to jump in here to talk about the looming conference schedule, these essential doubleheaders that are going to take place. We talked earlier about the depth on this team. How will the depth play when you have to play like 2 games at Air Force or, you know, these double headers that are going to be tricky to navigate, especially when you're on the road at elevation? How will the depth play into that?
Well, hopefully it'll help us. You know, it won't help us with elevation. Obviously, they'll all be affected by it, and it depends on the person. Some are affected more than others. I can remember back when we used to play at BYU, the 2 times we did go in there with Kawhi, he had to get IVs before both games. One time we went to Wyoming, Jeremy Hemsley couldn't play because he didn't feel well. So spending long stretches at elevation's never been good to us back when we had travel partners. And so hopefully we'll have enough bodies we can run guys in and out and try to keep them as fresh as we can. But the effects of altitude are definitely going to have some kind of effect on the game. Hopefully not drastic, but I've been here long enough, not using that as an excuse, but having seen it firsthand, altitude is definitely hard to stay at for 5 or 6 days to play 2 games.
What a crazy season. I mean, really. What a crazy preseason. You know, we were just talking about Shackle. We had him on the show, I think, a week ago, and we were talking to him about his preseason. And he said, look, you know, gyms were closed. There weren't a lot of options. I took a basketball and I locked myself in the garage and I made myself a better ball handler. I just thought I was fascinated by the level of discipline and sort of stick-to-itiveness that he had throughout an offseason where you could really lose some time. He gained. And you were just talking about how he's been better off the dribble. A lot of that's due to all of this ball handling work that he did by himself in his dusty garage, for crying out loud. How many guys could you say that about, you know, this year coming into the preseason, once you were able to get your hands on him, that actually improved during this pandemic, bizarre offseason that you had?
They had to do it because with the restrictions we had in place in San Diego and at San Diego State, I didn't bring any of them back in the summer because I felt they were getting more work done away from us than they could with us. And so all of them are dedicated to the game. They work hard at their skill. And I thought they all improved for not being with us over the summer because they wanted to get better. And that's kind of been why we've been good over the years, is because we have kids that want to get better, that spend time in the gym, that love the game of basketball. And they don't think they're good just because they're athletic. They think they're good because they put their work in. And we've got a lot of good character kids that put their work in on their games.
Well, craziness continues on Friday. How about a 2 o'clock tip? As the Aztecs host BYU, of course, right here on your proud home of the Aztecs. Coach, again, congratulations on the great start. I know we are just excited to see how this entire season is going to unfold. And happy holidays to you as well, if we don't have a chance to talk to you before then.
Thanks, guys, and we'll all enjoy this roller coaster together. We're grateful for every day we can be on the floor.